Hello and welcome to Digital Coffee, Episode 5, Swing Copter. Hey guys, Adrian here. It is Tuesday. It is actually 3 p.m. as I record this. I had to record this a little bit late. I know this is a whole your morning fix on technology thing, but I had a dental appointment this morning, which caused me to kind of move around my schedule. Nonetheless, I'm here to bring you the tech news that really mattered to me throughout the week, and I think kind of the key things that really happened as far as big news and a lot of stuff that's kind of taken the news headlines and all of that, and diving into it. Let's just jump off with number one. A little bit of I don't know if you would even call it like social media news, or I guess more so just news that's related to gaming in a sense. Dong Nguyen, I believe is how you pronounce it. He was the developer of the original game that was Flappy Bird, and as I open my app here, you will hear this in the background. This is the new game. This is the sound of the new game. This is the sound of frustration, actually. This is Swing Copter. This is a new game released by the original Flappy Bird developer, and actually today it was just updated in order to make it a little bit more easier in a sense, because it was ridiculously difficult when it came out. But as with all games that he's produced so far, the Flappy Bird sensation that really kind of took the App Store by storm. Tons of people were downloading it, and I think I was thinking about this. I was thinking about what is the kind of there's probably been tons of articles on this, but what is the kind of elements that go into this kind of virality of an app like Flappy Bird? And it's really started this kind of trend with apps, super simple graphics, whether that's 8-bit or retro, whatever you want to call it, and super simple controls like tapping, and ridiculously addictive and challenging. And that's kind of the aim of it, all basing on the high score, because people love to just kind of compete in a sense. They love to post their high score. They love to see how their friends are doing. They love to see how far this person got or that person got. It's one of those games that just kind of motivates you to keep on trying, even though it's ridiculously hard. And Flappy Bird, again, was a huge sensation. I think at one time it was making over $50,000 in ad revenue a day. It was shut down by the developer because of the stress and I guess the trials and tribulations that come with having a very popular app. And now he's added Swing Copter, and the whole purpose of Swing Copter is to avoid these kind of floating hammers in the sky as you navigate using your kind of helicopter-like device by tapping left and right. Tapping changes the direction either left or right. It's challenging. It's definitely, if you just want to try it out for a second, that's what everybody says. You can go ahead and find it for free in the App Store today. All right, so moving on to the gaming news, it's some more serious stuff, I guess. Apple has announced, and this has kind of been taking some headlines, that a small percentage of the iPhone 5, I don't believe it's 5S, but just 5 devices sold between September 2012 and January 2013, so almost in that nearly a year lifespan, have faulty batteries, or maybe a couple months lifespan, I should say. Not a year, but have faulty batteries that drain quickly, and electronic giant was kind of going about and saying that if you find that your iPhone 5 runs out of juice too quickly, there is a fix. So the Cupertino, California company has, again, like I said, determined that a small percentage of the devices have suddenly experienced their shorter battery life than normal and need to be charged more frequently. And if your phone is eligible, you can do so by going to Apple's site. I'm going to leave a link to this article, and I'll link to this little thing you can go to on Apple's site to verify if your device is affected by this. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to plug in your serial number unique to your iPhone 5, and you would select your country, and basically what the site says here, it would go about replacement process. So as of August 22nd, 2014, the replacement process will be available in US and China and other countries. It will be available as of August 29th, 2014. Essentially, what they'll do is you get to choose one of the services to have your battery replaced, whether it's an Apple authorized service provider, a retail store in your area, or technical support. And to prepare for your iPhone 5 battery replacement, basically you're going to back up all your data to either iTunes or iCloud, turn off Find My iPhone, erase data. So you want to erase all your data, because basically I'm guessing that they're just going to, replace it. It says here, note, if your iPhone 5 has any damage, such as a cracked screen, which impairs the replacement of the battery, the issue will need to be resolved prior to replacement. So again, if you have a cracked screen, you're not going to get a free screen out of it. Though they do have an option for replacement if you want to get that done when you send it in for repair. So I'm guessing actually they're just going to replace the battery. And I actually have a history of, I used to run a local iDevice repair business, and it was a very tedious one. It's very tedious work and very hands-on. Fun, but at the same time very technical and all that. The battery is one of those easier things to replace. You literally take the 2 screws off on the iPhone 5. I'm guessing it's the same way. Yeah, I'm looking at my 5S here. 2 screws at the very bottom, and then you would slide off the back panel. I guess in the case of the iPhone 5 and 5S, it's different now that the back panel is not removable. So with this, you would have to go from the top to bottom approach, which probably does make it a little bit more difficult. You have to remove the screen and sometimes like the motherboard, things of that nature. And in case they want you to have all your data backed up and all that, so you get your new device back and we'll be able to sync it. So again, if you were having iPhone 5 battery shortages or issues, definitely check if you're eligible for this. I remember when people got their iPhone 5s, I had a lot of people asking me the same question. They thought it was iOS 7 that was causing the battery drain. It may just be a hardware issue. And this tends to happen all the time. I mean, when you're shipping mass products like iPhones or whatever, there tends to be a batch of hardware that has, some faulty or issues with it. So luckily they're doing this replacement program even on the eve of the iPhone 6 launch. All right, moving on to some major news that broke just last night. It was pretty surprising and shocking news to a lot of people. YouTube was in talks, and it was reported. I reported it. YouTube was in talks buying Twitch.tv, the famous gaming live streaming network based off of Justin.tv, which has recently shut down to pursue a bigger vision for Twitch.tv, which really became the home network of gaming. It's literally a site where people go to watch people play video games. And I know on the surface that sounds very weird if you're not a gamer, if you don't enjoy that. I thought so too originally, but now I own a Twitch.tv account. I've been streaming recently this last couple of weeks at twitch.tv/digitaldojos if you're interested. It really is the new age of media. It's much like how we watch YouTube content rather than cable. If you have an interest in entertainers and the games they're playing, whether it's them teaching strategy tips, giving guides, or just playing the game in general and having a good time, Twitch.tv offers you that kind of one-on-one connection with your favorite streamers or entertainers, and you can follow them whether they're professionals or just amateurs. And a site that's really dedicated to letting users watch others play video games has been purchased by none other than Amazon. It was made official today that Amazon has bought Twitch.tv in a deal for $970 million, not too shy of the number that was estimated for the YouTube deal, which was evaluating Twitch at $1 billion. So just $30 million short of $1 billion deal, but nonetheless, $970 million for a Twitch or for a gaming live streaming network. That's ridiculous, and that's in cash. So it's a pretty big, surprising report. I mean, first off, why would Amazon buy them? That's a lot of speculation there. Mashable had a good article talking about the acquisition. TechCrunch, obviously very, very known for keeping up with those sort of things, had a great article as well. I'll link both of those. But taking a quote from the Mashable article, they said on here that Amazon is no longer just a network of e-commerce properties with fulfillment arms. It operates an ecosystem of hardware products like the Fire TV, Kindle Fire, tablets, and the Fire phone. So, that's very true. Amazon now has really branched off. It's no longer just one of the leading marketplaces online. It provides much hardware, and games are going to be a big staple of that. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Twitch.tv. I'm guessing they're going to somehow tie this in as they do with anything that Amazon kind of absorbs or buys. They tie it in with their services, they sell it, and they promote it like hell with all their products and software. Whether or not this is going to change a lot of stuff for Twitch.tv, who knows? Hopefully, there was a lot of speculation back when YouTube was going to buy it, because YouTube would have been a perfect fit, I think, for Twitch.tv. Very well integrated in terms of the streaming network and, YouTube picking up a lot of live streaming broadcasts. There was talks about like artists, or there's going to be setting up those filters so that Twitch TV streamers couldn't play copyrighted content in their things. I'm sure this engine's still going to be integrated into Twitch.tv, since Amazon also is going to have to worry about those sort of copyright things that come with Twitch streamers and all of that. But, I mean, this is a pretty big acquisition. I mean, just to go down the list of acquisitions Amazon has done, the biggest being Zappos in terms of millions. That deal, I think, pushed, much, much higher than the Twitch deal. And then Twitch, and then they got things like Living Social. They had Audible, the very famous audiobook. So, Amazon has been purchasing tons and tons of companies and absorbing them and integrating them in some form or another. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go about integrating Twitch. I'm sure this will be pushed on the mobile devices, being able to watch games, live streams directly from your device in some sort of way. But again, it's just a really, really shocking report. I thought YouTube would have been a great fit, but it's going to be interesting to see how the future of Twitch goes and how Amazon plans on integrating Twitch into their kind of ecosystem. All right. Some other big news that passed recently was a bill that passed in California specifically, and what's known as a kill switch bill has been signed into law. So a law that essentially requires anti-theft tools out of the box goes into full effect next July for phones sold in California. So from July 1st, 2015, to include what they call anti-theft measures if sold in the state of California. Basically, this bill, which is entitled SB 962, was created by a state senator by the name of Mark Leno alongside the San Francisco DA or district attorney George Gascon. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But basically, this is to advocate the anti-theft measures for smartphones. Phones that are being stolen, and it can be a huge, huge headache for the user who has these phones stolen. I mean, if you think about it nowadays, our mobile phone carries a lot of our information. It has not only our contacts and the things that it's always had, but now it has our email. Now it has our passwords. Now it has our banking. Now it has many, many personal things, photos, videos, whatever. And yes, there's security measures that you can set up, but not a lot of users may do that. And again, when it comes to physical access of devices, that's probably the easiest way to get, they say for hacking, it's probably once a user has physical access to your device, it's very easy to extract data, whether or not there's a passcode, etc., etc. So this bill would make stolen smartphones more of a headache for thieves. So going as far as the Verge article is quoting here, hiring security experts to try and bypass the built-in measures to illustrate the smartphone makers weren't doing enough. So basically going to companies like Apple, going to Samsung, and hosting these high security experts to break into their devices and show them the flaws, show them where they're lacking. That way, the phones and the smartphones could be more secure and be more advanced when it comes to theft. There is some measures out there now. I'm not saying that this is something that is brand new because, for example, Apple has Find My iPhone, but if that's turned off or if the phone is turned off, then your phone is emitting no signal. There's a lot of different stuff out there that is out there for you to find your device, per se, and there's been some success to that, but there is also a lot of workarounds. For as much security measures are out there for technology devices, there's a lot of workarounds. That's kind of just how the game is played. It's a game of back and forth, push and pull type thing. But this bill surely will push some awareness in that of the state of California. Hopefully we'll see stuff like this. I would like to see stuff like this pushed out more across different states. I think that it is a big issue, and nowadays, as the smartphone becomes predominantly more of our lives are stored on these devices, security needs to be something that is more brought to light and more, I think, also promoted in a sense. I like how Apple did the thing with the Touch ID. That's a very simple thing. That's a very cool biometric scanner that works very well in my opinion and in my testing. And a lot of people don't think much of it. It's something simple that works and it's easy for them to adopt and integrate into their lives. So again, this is a really great article. You can read this over at theverge.com. All right, let's talk a little bit about social networking. The next story revolves around Facebook. Facebook is finally trying to kill clickbait. Clickbait, if you don't know, is a web term, I guess you can say. Basically, it's when you see like trying to think, BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed is really known for this. Like those kind of eye-catching titles and those titles that really sometimes have nothing to do with, the thing you actually open and click, like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like celebrity gossip articles. Sometimes you'll see like, oh, these people divorced or whatever, and then really you open it and it's just rumors or allegations or whatever. That's clickbait, and Facebook is full of that. So basically, the way the Facebook system has worked for a while is basically likes on Facebook translate to the content appearing higher in your newsfeed. The more likes a post has or a status has, the more predominant it will be shared on your newsfeed. Now, however, that doesn't translate to meaningful content or engagement. Just because something has a lot of likes, or for example, there are bots and there's people and social media strategists who get a lot of likes or drawn to a post, whether it's paying for them or whatever, and that promotes something that may not be engaging, that may not be something that somebody wants to see. It's just something that happens to be popular or whatever. So it's aiming to, because it says in fact 80% of users surveyed by the company said that they wanted headlines that allowed them a better sense of the story ahead. So rather than these articles that are very kind of fishing for you to click and get something that's not so related, something that leads into the actual, headline. So for example, Amazon buys Twitch for $970 million. That's pretty accurate. I mean, that's the story in itself. And if you click on that, you get further details revolving around that story, rather than something like, guess who bought Twitch? Guess who just spent $970 million on Twitch? That's something almost that you can be would be near a clickbait sort of title. But yeah, so Facebook is trying to do this. Facebook is trying to get links that create and contain context so much and is more engaging. Now, this is always something hard to gauge in a sense, because what is engaging, it's different to each individual. But with the amount of data that Facebook has and knows your interest, I'm sure in no time this will be figured out, and it's in a way to cut down the spam and get more targeted stuff towards you without being creepy, because I know a lot of people don't like that whole targeted ad thing. But this will be interesting to see nonetheless. Alrighty, the last story of the day I have for you guys was the LG G Watch R. I have, this is such a weird name. Basically, it stands for the LG G Watch Round, if I'm not mistaken. There was a teaser video leaked. I'm reading the article here from Android Central, but there was a teaser video all around, unveiled at the Wearable IFA conference, IFA 2014, and it has pretty much conclusive proof of the upcoming LG G Watch R for Round, showcasing it in a really fast, it's like a 30-second trailer clip. I'll leave this link in the description down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And it puts this kind of futuristic round-looking, the traditional round-looking watch face with these crazy lights and LEDs on the watch. Looks like on the watch band and in the internals of the watch. It's a very sort of, I would call like a futuristic kind of watch. You can have the classic watch face. You can have these crazy watch faces. You can have really unique ones, obviously. It's in competition, obviously, against things like the Moto 360. Asus just announced a new smartwatch, possibly the iWatch that Apple has been rumored to be in the works of. But the G Watch is yet another one out there that is kind of just competing in the same space. And it's very flashy, very futuristic in my sense, or in if I'm describing it from what I'm seeing right here. And it's definitely, it's cool. My favorite one right now, design-wise, has to be the Moto 360. Motorola really, I think, did one of the best Android Wear devices that's out there right now. The Moto 360 also features that round display, but very, very nice display. Very casual-looking watch. You can switch the bands. It's very versatile. I mean, all of this kind of stemming from the very early Pebble watches that were kind of a kind of hit in their own. Wearable tech is definitely becoming something big as far as fitness, as far as companion devices to our mobile devices, and so on and so forth, allowing us to glance at our data faster and more efficiently, and so on and so forth. There's going to be a storm of devices coming out. The LG G Watch R Round is just one of those, so you guys can check this out. But again, there's going to be over 2014 going into 2015. It's definitely going to be, I think, the year of the wearable. And the wearable technology is going to become a big thing, especially powered by this thing that is Android Wear. And if Apple steps into the game to see what they do with their iOS version, the way I could see, like, for example, an iOS watch or an iWatch working is, if you guys remember the Nanos, when they released the new version of the Nanos, it had this touchscreen and it had this really kind of portable iOS interface. I see something similar to that on an iWatch, but much more beefed up. And then again, the biggest thing about a watch, I think, is really aesthetics. I mean, the software and all that's great, but I think what a lot of people care about watches, I myself am a huge watch enthusiast, a horologist, I believe that's what you call it. I have multiple watches, from Rolexes to Panerais to some more, like, I guess you would call it, like, fashion designer brands like Versace and stuff of that. They're all unique, and they all have their own style and kind of, aesthetic to themselves, and they all have very great craftsmanship and different mechanics involved, from the famous different motors for example, the Rolex has a very famous movement with that. It doesn't tick, it's a sweeping motion with the Rolex. And then there's all these different stuff, and I think with the software aspect of things, with a smartwatch, you see something that can be updated. I think of something like the Tesla car, for example. I know this is kind of jumping ship, but the Tesla car is a really crazy car because it's powered on software. It's like a computer, basically. It has a touchscreen. But Tesla can push out firmware updates that change features on your car. There's a recent software update that allowed your headlights to do some new crazy light trick. I see that the same thing with smartwatches. So aesthetics is going to matter a lot because that's what you're going to be stuck with. But the software will always be changing. And it will always be able to be updated and interact with the hardware in a different way, in a sense. And I think that's the best thing about wearables, and that's kind of the future of technology as we see it. All right, guys, but that kind of concludes this podcast for me. I hope you enjoyed this kind of 20-minute session, filling you in on the technology news that really kind of just stuck out to me this week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're checking this out on YouTube. Comment down below with your opinions on any of the stories. I hope that, that caught your eye or you have an opinion on. Feel free to share those down below. And I'm going to get back to my lunch now. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.